Good day everyone, my name is Shunna Villarico from English 2B, and for today's lesson, we are going to summarize and analyze the Once Upon a Time story by Nadine Gordimer. So without further ado, let's begin. Perfect. That's the world we are living in. The circumstances in which you are surrounded by cannot get any better. Your life consists of a lovely family with a beautiful kid and a happy home. Everything is simply idyllic and harmony. This is indeed a very little peon world in which Nadine Gordimer is describing in the story. When looking at the title Once Upon a Time, one may think it's a classic fairy tale. Therefore, the reader expects that it is a happy ending. But instead, this story has a twist and you realize that it is not definitely a fairy tale story. For this reason, I am going to focus on how and why this story changes from being so utopian to such a dystopian tragedy. This story is divided into two parts. The first part is where the author herself is telling the story behind the actual story. She is told to write a story for children as a part of her duty as a writer. Nadine does not stand for that idea because of artistic freedom. No artist should ever be asked to create a work on demand. Later, when she is laying on her bed, she is awakened by an unfamiliar sound. She is staring at the door thinking it must be an intruder. Eventually, she realized it was due to the sound of the creaking in this house. What Nadine is trying to say here is that we all fear something, whether it's dark, ghosts, or even monsters. But why do we fear, and isn't ironic to fear something you've never seen or even myth? It is important to know that Nadine is not trying to write a story for children despite the fairy tale limits. Fairy tale elements can be found, for example, when describing the stepmothers, an old wise witch, or when the sentence you have been warned abused 3 times in the story. This made you think that it is a fairy tale, but in reality, she is just using a fairy tale language to clarify the irony in the story. She is in reality writing about the distance and ignorance we see between people and society. The family in the story is white, where there is a man and a woman who are happily married. They love each other very much and were living happily ever after. Not only did they love each other very much, they were wealthy as well. They have a car and a caravan trailer for holidays, a swimming pool. They have a little boy whom they love dearly, a trustworthy housemaid, and a skilled gardener. This shows that they are a wealthy family who can afford a swimming pool and cares about one another. In total, it is a perfect, wealthy, and a happy family, where nothing can get better. With other words, they are living in a utopian world. It's important to know that the family is living in a suburb in South Africa. Segregation between blacks and white is huge, and every family is secured in the best ways. People from outside are not allowed in. That is why the husband keeps telling his wife that these people were not allowed into suburb except as reliable housemaids and gardeners, so there was nothing to fear. Their family is insured against floods and fires, but the wife was still afraid because they aren't insured against any riots, that these people one day might come up to the street and tear up the plaque, "You have been warned," and open the gates and stream in. To comfort his anxious wife, and because he knows how violent the riots are, the husband installs electronic gates at the front of the house, and the family keeps developing their safety equipment just to be safe in case something actually happens. The little boy is mesmerized by the speaker system, which allows the visitors to communicate with someone inside. He and his friends use it as a walkie-talkie. The world they're living in is not as perfect as she thought, because living in fear is definitely not a utopian element, but on the other hand, a dystopian. Another dystopian element in this story is the inequality between the rich and the poor. In this story, there were people living on the streets who drank liquor and fouled the streets with discarded bottles. This shows that not everybody is living a healthy and wealthy life. When family keeps siding to add protection to their house, that is where the irony behind fear is shown. Because the family has no idea what's really happening on the outside. One day, watching the little boy's cat deftly scaling the wall of the house, the husband and the wife decided to affix some sort of security system on the walls too. The couple settles on the most threatening security systems of them all. A series of metal coils notched with razor blades that ascend the house's exterior walls. Once an intruder begins to climb through the coils, there is no way out. The jagged metal will rip the intruder to shreds no matter which way they move. That night, the woman reads her son the story of Sleeping Beauty, wherein the brave prince must fight his way through a dense thicket of thorns in order to save the Sleeping Beauty. The next day, the little boy pretends to be the prince and decides that the metal coil encasing the house will be the thorns he must climb. But the second he wiggles his way into a metal coil, the blades pierce his skin, and he screams in pain, and snaring himself deeper and deeper into the wire. The housemaid and gardener come running, and the gardener tears up his hands trying to rescue the boy. The husband and wife run out in a panic as the house alarms, likely set off by the cat, begins to blare. Eventually, the little boy's bleeding body is removed with heavy equipment. The man, the woman, the housemaid, and the gardener are beside themselves as they carry the boy's remains to the house. As a conclusion, we can therefore say that the son's death is a consequence of the family's prejudices and obsessions. I hope you learned a thing or two from this topic. Thank you for listening.